UFC Fight Night, Overeem Volkov, is in the books. What did we learn from this fight? Is Overeem's title contendership over before it even started? Does the outcome of this fight, what does it mean for the heavyweight division? We'll cover that next on Throwing Bows. Throwing Bows, everybody. I'm Jose. I am here with Maria.
Hey, everybody.
And I am here with John.
Having a great time, everybody.
All right, so let's take care of some business before we get into it. Please like and subscribe below. Just give us a like, give us a subscribe. Just let us know what we're doing. So with that now done and out of the way, let's jump straight into it. The number 5 ranked heavyweight in the UFC, Overeem, Alistair Overeem, fought the number 6 ranked heavyweight in Volkov. And this is the first domino in the series of heavyweight fights that we get coming up that are going to all lead up to the March 27th Stipe and Ngannou 2 fight. And if you watched the previous video I had done, I pretty much laid out how Overeem could have possibly gotten a title fight. But let's just say there's Blades coming up. There's Blades Lewis coming up. There's Rosenstruck coming up fighting Gane. And so this was supposed to be the first domino leading all the way up to it. So let's just jump right into it. So what was the result? What happened? Volkov just put it on Overeem. Overeem looked like he was all of 40, and that's being nice. I'm almost 40. I'm not trying to say I could have put on a better performance, but I don't know if I could have put on a worse performance. Like that was pretty. Well, I mean, who knows?
You said it, not me. I was thinking.
I mean, who knows?
You played the video game a couple times. Stop that.
I mean, listen. We all say what we say. All I'm gonna say is
true.
It looked as if Overeem was pretty much a walking target. And I got at least 5 minutes of, oh man, that was a good one. Oh man, that was a good one. So, we can do that. So, all right. So, any just initial thoughts, just very initial, very top level thoughts, John, on the result of Volkov getting Overeem out of there?
I think Volkov let everybody know that, yeah, I'm here. Be ready. Be ready, strap in, because it's coming.
Okay. All right. Maria, any initial thoughts?
Yeah. How are you going to leave the octagon with your face looking like the horse meat you used to eat? That was it. Because Overeem looked hot. There was blood coming out of every orifice on his face. Like, it was horrible. It was horrible. Like, poor dude. That's what I got.
I will say that for a man whose highlight was coming straight from Strikeforce and then putting his left foot upside Brock Lesnar's stomach and basically causing
one of my favorites,
causing Brock to have stomach problems and just calling it a career in the UFC. Overeem also has some devastating, bad endings to fights too. That knockout that Ngannou delivered to him is probably still on someone's highlight reel. They're gonna put that in a capsule and bury that, and in 50,000 years, they're gonna someone's gonna dig that thing back up and be like, "Oof, that was nasty. That was terrible." I don't think that was the same fight, but there was another fight where he pretty much split his whole lip open, and it was just dangling. That was another end, and then now we have this nice one to capstone Overeem's career, which is Volkov leaving him a bloody mess. Okay, so how did we get to this result? What was the game plan that we saw coming in? So let's talk about how we got to the result. We know that Volkov pretty much heads and shoulders killed Overeem, but what was working? What did it look like the game plan was? So John, we'll start with you. What did you see? What do you think was so effective that he pretty much got Overeem out of there in a round and a half?
That jab.
Yeah.
That jab. Just start. That's the beginning and end of it. It's a jab.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I can't recall a fighter ever making Overeem look so tiny. So it was a different looking man. And then I don't even know what, like we said before we started, I've got no idea what Overeem was thinking about. I'm so confused.
Yeah,
The jab.
Yeah, I agree. To your point, Volkov comes in. I think he's got either Muay Thai or kickboxing. He's a striker. He has that background, and so you're thinking he's long, he's lengthy. Maybe he'll just throw the jab out there to establish some kicks, but he starts landing them, and like they are flush. And so he starts with the jab, and then he starts with so he just starts 1-2, just a jab straight right, and they're just finding homes, and it's crazy. So Maria, anything else that you saw? Jab, anything else that you may have thought like Volkov game planned?
That's a really interesting question to me, because coming into this fight, I really didn't know what his approach would be. I have to believe, and in watching the fight, I felt like there was a bit of a speed difference that was very noticeable. Obviously giving Volkov the advantage. I think that you already hit the nail on the head. Like, I think the jab made the biggest difference. The speed made a huge difference. And let's just put it out there. That man is huge. I actually even tweeted during the fight that I couldn't recall a time, except maybe against Lesnar, right? Because Lesnar just doesn't even look like a human being. But I couldn't recall a time that I had seen an Overeem fight where he looked so incredibly small next to the guy that he was fighting. He tends to be one of the bigger guys in this division. And he got treated like a rag doll. And so I just think that this is the evolution of the new MMA heavyweight. I know I've talked about it, I think, independently with you guys before, about this idea that, gone are the days of just big dudes or fat dudes or super muscly dudes. Like, these guys are coming in, they are just machines, and they are technically sound. And I think that that's just what we saw tonight. It was... I don't think that there was a particular strategy. I think Volkov went in like, I'm just going to handle business. I'm going to see where the fight takes me. It's Overeem. There's always a threat of him trying to get you down and ground and pound, or even submit you. Like, he's had plenty of wins those ways. But he is and always will be a striker at heart. And I just think that Volkov knew that he was time enough for him. Like, he had no problem standing and banging. He never was going to. So.
Okay. All right. So Volkov definitely game plan. I in my opinion, from what I saw, I think Volkov definitely was like, we're going to keep this on the feet. I think he was almost surprised at how effective his jab was becoming. It almost looked like he was like, it can't be this easy. Like, I'm facing Alistair Overeem. Like, I'm fighting a legend. Like, this, it can't be this easy that I am just taking him out. And I'm just like, John says something, and it's really interesting before we move on, which is, refs, what they're looking for, the word is timidity, that if you basically cover up and you show your back, like, a ref is looking for that. That is when the guy is completely like, I'm done. Like, I'm covering up and I'm turning my back. I'm done. I don't want to get hit anymore. I don't know if he shelled up completely, because I know that that's something that Overeem likes to do sometimes, is go against the cage. But there was a time after he's just getting beat, I think right around the end of the first round, where he goes up against the cage and he starts showing the back. He doesn't have the hands up necessarily, but he starts giving Volkov the back. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if this isn't stopped, it will only get worse. And I think the referee should definitely think about seeing that not as this is Overeem against the cage, covering up as a defense. This is him basically getting timid and saying, you know what, not tonight, guys. I'm not here for this. I'm not here.
So before John, like, kind of, because I know John has some thoughts as somebody who has been trained here in this. I actually think that this was probably one of the best stoppages I've seen in MMA in a very long time. I think that he stopped it at the beginning of the first, in that sequence where you're talking about, where he was covering up in typical Overeem fashion, but it did seem like he was starting to turn away a little bit. With how close it was to the end of that round, I think that a stoppage there would have been a bit premature. However, the stoppage coming as soon as he hit the ground, and mind you, he hit the ground and was still like preparing to defend, but it was clear he didn't want no more of it. He was done, and there was no reason to allow him to take additional damage. I thought it was an excellent stop. John, you may think differently or have a different perspective, but I thought it was probably some of the best officiating I've seen in a pretty long time.
It's there are a couple of things you have to consider like that. If you're gonna stop a fight due to timidity, you're gonna have to explain that. You know, Overeem sometimes comes in very aloof. Don't know quite. You can tell by his body language and his facial expression that he's just kind of, I don't want to say Eeyore having a bad day, but it just looked like he was walking through the mud in this. Something also to think about, you're looking at the main event on an ESPN Plus card. There's a lot if you're going to make a decision like that, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of factors involved in a decision like that. Because think about it. You're the official on a main event fight on the promotion broadcast platform.
That's a good point.
You better be right.
Right.
I think at that time it would have been a bad stoppage. Now we get to the fight ending sequence in the second round. When Volkov dropped him, Overeem didn't want no more. He looked down at the floor like he was, it was finito. It was a wrap. He was done. And kudos to Volkov for not
jumping on top of him.
He could have definitely made it a worse night for Overeem, out of the frying pan and into the fire.
I will say that I do think that it was great officiating. It was great officiating.
Yeah. Definitely looking at it, it's the main event on a UFC card on ESPN. You're right. That official is going to have to answer if he's like, he was timid. So, looking about it, definitely. I'm a little bit more of a rocker of the boat, though. I know that maybe if I had been in there refereeing, I would be like, I just didn't like what I saw. I'm sorry. I screwed your main event up. All right, well, sorry. Maybe I'll just go judge some bare knuckle fights like old Dan Mergliotta does, because apparently he doesn't have a problem with human cockfighting.
Man, hey. Yo,
hey, listen,
respect the
listen, I respect Dan Mergliotta, but when I saw he was the ref for that main event, I was like,
Jose's talking that trash. He's gonna be Latino Herb Dean. That's what he's gonna be doing. Because Herb Dean does what Herb Dean does and gives zero fucks with anybody.
That's what I'm here
he's
for.
Just like,
I'm the third man in the ring. I'm in charge. So, so let's think about. Let's think about Volkov first. Then let's think about what this means for him. He beats the fifth guy. He's the sixth guy. And like I said, the number 2 and number 4 in Blades and Derek Lewis are fighting in 2 weeks. In 3 weeks, you get the number 3 guy Rosenstruck facing Gane, the number 7th guy. And so here's the deal with Volkov. He's lost to Blades and he's lost to Lewis. So we're talking about Volkov and. Okay, so he won. He was the 6th guy. He beat the 5th guy. Lewis, number 4, fights Blades, number 2, in 2 weeks. In 3 weeks, number 3, Rosenstruck, faces the number 7, Cyril Gane, the number 7 guy. So here's the issue if you're Volkov. And they said it in the post-fight, and I said it on my separate one, but this is what it is. He's already lost to Blades and Lewis. So no matter who comes out of Blades and Lewis, he's lost to them. He can't monkey leap them. So they at least are somewhere in the ways of when you get done with this heavyweight, with this heavyweight threesome that you got going on between Ngannou, Stipe, and Jones, that should probably be the guy who gets the next fight. Is either going to be Lewis or it's going to be Blades, whoever wins that fight. Followed up by Rosenstruck if he can take out Gane, or I guess Volkov. So Volkov is probably going to need another fight. So anybody just come out and strike your fancy on who he may need, or maybe if you disagree, I'm thinking I said 1. If you think he needs 2, 3, like what do you think? Where do you think he goes from here, Maria?
So I have to disagree with you on one thing. I think that depending on the type of performance the winner of Lewis Blades puts on will then determine what happens with Volkov. Like at the end of the day, these are the heavyweights. These are the big boys. This is the main thing, what everybody comes to see. After what he just did to Overeem, let's say you've got a Blades Lewis that goes to the cards and there's nothing spectacular. There are no fireworks. You alluded to it in a previous recording. We were both there when Lewis fought Ngannou and what a dud that was. If you get that type of fight, or even anything that's just not a definitive, masterful knockout out of Blades Lewis, you create a situation where, you know, what's the saying that out of space, out of mind, or whatever, in that if they don't deliver the goods after what Volkov just did, we have a short-term memory and everyone is going to be calling for Volkov to be next in line for whatever's going on with that title. So that said, I think that his future really does rely on how that fight goes. Not necessarily who wins, because to your point, he's already lost to both of those guys. But how that fight goes.
Okay. So you do believe that the way that the Blades Lewis fight goes determines how many more fights? Or do you think he could absolutely, like, you're not saying that he should be next in line after Jones dispatches either Ngannou or Stipe?
I am saying that if Lewis doesn't knock out Blades, or Blades does not knock out Lewis, not that I think he should be, UFC will make him next in line behind, you know, the Jones and Ngannou Stipe threesome that's going on right now. Like, there's no question.
Before I jump to John, here's the thing. I don't think Volkov is as sexy as Cyril Gane. And so if there's a dud in Blades Lewis and Gane puts on a show against Rosenstruck, Gane is the guy. Gane is the sexy guy. He is the sexy pick. It's not Volkov. John, you jump in here. What do you think?
All right. So Volkov, I would probably give Blades or Lewis, like the loser of that. Since he's already taken L's against both of them. Although in one of the L's, let's be honest, as much as I love the Beast, he was winning that fight. He pulled the wild card in all of this is what they do with John Jones. Like what? I mean, I know that he's going to get the title fight as soon as he shows up. The question is what's the timeline and who gets what? I think Cyril Gane is going to destroy Rosenstruck. I think he is going to wash him.
I do too.
But I mean, stranger things have happened. So, but
yeah,
the timeline is weird. So I think, like you said, we see all these heavyweight fights, and we're going to see, hopefully we see a clearer picture and not a more muddled one when this is all said and done.
Can I just add something real quick, Jose, if you don't mind? All I want to say is, what a time to be alive if you love heavyweights, though, right? That's like, how long has it been since there was really this mud at the top of the heavyweight division? Like, years.
Long time.
It has been a very, very long time. And I am excited that we've got all, I mean, it is a murderer's row. Jones is not going to have an easy shot at the title. Like, I love it. I think it's great.
And so despite his lack of effort, I want to say, Dana's kind of fallen into some blessed situations. Bantamweight has got a row of murderers. 55 is his highlight, and I think that he just kind of got lucky. He was kind of grasping at straws with the DC Stipe trilogy, and while all that was happening, it was like his heavyweights just kept trying to figure out who fell in where, right? And so Blade starts going on a run. Lewis has a little bit of a run. Lewis gets in shape and decides he actually wants to dedicate himself to heavyweight, which is bad. I mean, which is good for him and it's bad for all of his opponents. You pick up this guy Gon who comes in and he makes Junior Dos Santos look like who knows, but like. And then Rosenstruck just kind of comes out of nowhere, too. You got a couple of guys even outside of the top 7 who are going to be good as they come up. Yeah, it's one of those weird things where I don't know. I can't necessarily say, and I don't believe Dana if he says that this is where he always thought. But let's be honest. This is the fight game. This is a fight game, right? This is the same thing, right? You can have your welterweights be great. You can have your middleweights be great. You can have your flyweights be great. But at the end of the day, what puts asses in seats is your heavyweights. Your heavyweights are what the casual fan will come to see because they're relying on the heavyweight fight ending in a knockout. That's what puts asses in seats. And so what Dana didn't have for a little while that he was trying to get was this heavyweight that just could go and put asses in seats. And honestly, I think that we're not too far away from him getting everything he wants with a John Jones heavyweight UFC champion, and the heavyweights are gonna be great. Listen, you say what you want.
And everyone will bend the knee.
Yeah, everyone's going to bend the knee. I think John Jones takes it, and he holds on to that for a while. Some good fights, but I think he holds on to it. So, but that's me. We can talk about that. But
yeah. Let me know when you want to have that episode, because I got a whole lot to say about that bullshit.
We can definitely talk about that.
It is what it is. What do I know?
So the last thing for the last thing for the parting shots for the final thought is, let's think about this. So the result. We talked about it with Frankie, so let's just talk about it with Overeem. What do we got? Obviously, we don't want to tell a grown man what to do with his life, but should he fight? What's the future look like, Maria?
I think his situation is a little bit different than Frankie's, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just my impression of these fighters. I don't think that he should hang him up just yet. I think that he should definitely finish out whatever he's got in his contract and then maybe hang it up. I wouldn't look for a contract extension or anything like that. I mean, when your contract's done, however many fights you've signed on for, you should ride that out. And similar to what we said with Frankie, you should probably just be a gatekeeper of the heavyweights for a little bit. My whole thing is with Frankie is that I just feel like Frankie has an ego and really did think that he had a legitimate shot at running for the title. I think Overeem wanted to do it, but is also like, but if it doesn't work out, that's cool. I still enjoy fighting. And I think because of that attitude, probably best for him to just finish out his contract and then maybe ride off into the sunset.
Okay. Then. John, what do you think?
I think, like Maria said, the situations are different. And I think for me, one of the reasons why I feel it's different is just because I'm used to seeing the Reem get. He's either going to demolish somebody or get demolished. Mm-hmm. So it's a different feeling. It's just kind of like when I saw it, I was just like, okay, he'll be back in a couple of months fighting somebody. Frankie's, on the other hand, it just, like we said,
it hurt my
brutal.
soul.
But I don't think he should retire. Like Maria said, ride out your contract. Probably a gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. Probably a gatekeeper. And that could be a difficult thing to be as well. Let's be honest.
I think that we as fans though need to do a better job of helping these fighters as they get to this point in their career. there is nothing wrong with being a gatekeeper in the premier organization in the sport once you've already had like a 20-year damn career. So I just want to make sure that as we because I agree with you 110%, but I want to make sure that our listeners and viewers understand we don't mean that in a disrespectful or a bad way. Like, that's still, I'd rather be the gatekeeper of any weight class in the UFC than fighting in, some mom and pop West Virginia small organization. So,
all right, well,
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You got to start somewhere. No, you're
all
right.
Then. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for those. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Man, he's taking some beatings. And I know Frankie's been in some wars, but man, Reem is taking some beatings, and this is just another one to add on. But again, like I said, gatekeeper at the best organization in the world. Maybe it is better, but I don't know. Somebody may need to have a talk to him and be like, look, if you're gonna be a gatekeeper, man, oh man, you better at least start wanting to play some defense, because you've taken some beatings, my friend. We'll see what happens with Demolition Man. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. That was our takes on the main event for UFC Fight Night, Overeem versus Volkov. If you liked what you heard, like and subscribe down below. Leave a comment to let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter @BowsThrowing if you want to discuss anything in the world about MMA. And again, like we said on the last one, that even means bare knuckles fiasco that took place. That looks like all those people in Florida need to go get the COVID tests and scurvy shots, because that was, man, it looked like the police were 5 seconds away from breaking that up. But we will also talk about that. We will talk about that. If anyone watched the one championship and you want to even talk about what you thought about the girl tapping out at the end, or the woman tapping out at the end of that fight, we watch that too. We watch them all. And so we're always willing to talk MMA. Hit us up on Twitter. Leave a comment. We love to engage. So with that being said, we appreciate. Thank you so much for your time. And with that, we're out, guys.
Bye,
See you
guys.
next time.